What's up guys, Mickle here, and Judge Torres just approved the SEC's request to file an appeal in the Ripple SEC case. In this video, we're going to break down exactly what that means. John Deaton put out an excellent tweet thread breaking down whether or not this is going to do any damage to Ripple's already win against the SEC. In this video, we're going to break down why this is actually a very good thing for Ripple in the future, and we're also going to go over John Deaton's prediction on how this is going to end up. Towards the end of the video though, I want to transition into actually talking about a massive partnership that Ripple just landed with Mastercard, building CBDCs for some of the largest institutions out there. Make sure to stick around for this because a lot of people are totally skipping over one of the most important parts here. I'm going to go over that at the end of the video, so make sure to stick around. Like always, your support means so much to this channel. If you enjoy these videos, make sure to take a quick second to like this video and subscribe to my channel. It's really going to help me out so much. Also, if you ever need a place to buy some XRP or the Flare token, make sure to check out my favorite exchange Uphold down in the description of this video. With that said though, let's jump right into it, and I hope you guys enjoy the content. So let's start this video off and break down what just happened in the Ripple SEC case, because a lot of people were hoping that Judge Torres would not allow the SEC to file an appeal in the case. I want to talk about why it's actually not as bad as many people are expecting it to be, and it's actually going to go pretty quickly, and Judge Torres actually has a really good reason for letting the SEC do this. So I want to start off and just quickly talk about what's going on here. The SEC is essentially using a special process called an interlocutory appeal to do an early appeal in the Ripple SEC case. Typically, in a court case, you need to wait until the entire case is over. We know that certain parts of the Ripple SEC case are going to trial, so the SEC had to use this special form to get an appeal going now in the Ripple SEC case. Essentially, the other day, the SEC had to ask Judge Torres if an appeal would be allowed, and just today, Judge Torres said yes, it would. Now, a lot of people are looking at this as a really bad thing. Why is Judge Torres allowing them to appeal her decision? Does that mean she is going to change her mind on XRP not being a security? Well, the first thing we need to understand is XRP's status as a security is not going to change no matter what happens at appeal. Judge Torres said as a matter of law, not any kind of opinion, XRP is not a security. So that's never going to change, and that really takes one of the biggest black swan scenarios off the table. This is something that a lot of people are really not understanding. So in terms of XRP holders and in terms of secondary transactions, this appeal means almost nothing. But what it does impact is really Ripple's business model going forward. Essentially, the SEC wants to make it so every single transaction done by Ripple is a security. Judge Torres made it so a lot of Ripple's transactions were not securities. So I want to go over exactly why she would even allow this appeal, because when you just think about it, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Judge Torres just issued a ruling that put all her logic on the table. Why would she allow the SEC to file an appeal when she just made her positions clear? What's the point in even entertaining this appeal? Well, John Deaton actually put out a very good tweet regarding why Judge Torres would allow this to happen, and I think it's on the money. So John Deaton said, "As I said last week, she is going to grant the SEC the right to file a formal motion for an interlocutory appeal. Now she can deny it and explain why she's denying it, along with explaining why Rankoff is completely off regarding his understanding of what she ruled on. It was the SEC who categorized the different sales, not her. This should not be fun, but it's going to take another 3 to 6 months for her ruling." So what John Deaton is saying here is very important. If you guys remember, essentially in the Terra Luna case, the judge in that case came out and said, "I don't agree with how Judge Torres ruled." Now, the whole reason he came out and even made this statement was because Do Kwon and the Terra Luna Foundation were saying, hey, if Ripple was allowed to sell XRP, why shouldn't we be allowed to sell Luna? So the judge in that case said, oh, well, I don't agree with what Judge Torres said in the Ripple case, therefore, you're not allowed to sell Luna because I just don't subscribe to her thinking. Now, a lot of people came out and said, oh, this means that XRP still could potentially be a security and some of Ripple's sales might get roped back into securities law. What John Deaton is saying here is what Judge Torres is going to do is actually use the SEC's appeal as a way to counterpunch back at Judge Rakoff, the judge in the Terra Luna case. So he came out and said he disagreed with what Judge Torres ruled on. Now, because of this appeal, Judge Torres has a chance to respond. If it wasn't for this appeal, Judge Torres could have never responded. She would have just been stuck with the market ambiguity around her ruling. But because she is letting the SEC file their appeal, she actually gets to respond to it and explain to the market why Rakoff got it wrong. Now, this is super important because a lot of people in the space are trying to say there's no clarity around XRP because of the Terra Luna decision with Judge Rakoff. But now Judge Torres gets to explain to the market why he's wrong and why she's right. So just because the SEC filed this appeal and Judge Torres accepted it doesn't mean the SEC is going to win. In fact, there is a much greater chance Judge Torres isn't going to change her mind at all. She's just going to use this as an opportunity to further prove to the market why she was right. And the other thing we need to take away from this is it's really not going to take that long. John Deaton predicted it could take 3 to 6 months, but I've seen a lot of people, including attorney Fred, say this might be over in October to November. So essentially what this is the SEC is desperately trying to get Judge Torres to change her mind, but she's not going to. She's going to double down on what she said before and cement her ruling in history by putting the skeptics to bed. Overall, I think this is actually really good for Ripple. If the SEC had waited for this case to be over to appeal, which a lot of people thought they were going to do, then we would have been stuck with this ambiguity around the Terra Luna situation. Now she gets to address it straight up. She gets to explain to the market why this guy was wrong and why she has been right the entire time. Overall, I think this is actually pretty good news in the long run. I think John Deaton is spot on here on how things are going to play out. And the most important thing, and I know I keep coming back to this, but it's critical, XRP status in the market does not change regardless of any of this. XRP is never going to be declared a security. It's a matter of law, and Judge Torres' initial ruling, that will never change. This really only implicates Ripple going forward. Now I want to move on though and talk about some pretty exciting news that came out earlier today, and I was pretty shocked when I first saw this. This is definitely not something I was expecting, but like I had been saying forever, if you've been watching this channel, as soon as this case ended, we were going to see some massive partnerships announced by Ripple. Well, what we saw today is actually Mastercard is teaming up with Ripple to launch CBDCs. Now, this is extremely exciting, and Mastercard is actually working with a couple different partners, a couple different cryptocurrency players. But the reason why this is so exciting is it proves these traditional financial companies, the Mastercards out there, the big banks out there, need these blockchain technology companies. They cannot do it on their own. They need to partner with these players to build out their solutions. And that's one of the most important things we see playing out here. It's not Mastercard saying we're going to do this on our own. We don't need the Ripples. They are saying we are working with the Ripples to build out these solutions. It just really validates everything we have been seeing. We have been saying since day one, Ripple and XRP are going to be critical players in building this infrastructure. And it doesn't seem like it's just us. It seems like Mastercard agrees. And something picked up on by Susan right here, which I think is an awesome pickup, is actually the breakdown of what Mastercard sees Ripple as. Mastercard literally described Ripple as a platform for building CBDCs. So in this partnership, it seems like Mastercard is putting a lot of weight on Ripple for actually building the CBDC, which really makes me think this is 100% going to tie back to the XRP ledger. This is extremely exciting news, and the funny thing is we're still kind of in the trail end of the Ripple SEC case, so obviously they have been dying to get this announcement out there for a while. They're kind of jumping the gun here, but I have a feeling over the next couple months, regardless of what goes on with the Ripple SEC case, it's such a nothing burger at this point, we are going to see a lot more announcements just like this, because at the end of the day, the innovation is not going to wait for the SEC to catch up. All these different traditional players, the Mastercards, the Visas, the big banks, they understand what is right around the corner, and they understand that other countries are already going ahead with this full speed. They need to catch up. They do not want to be out innovated, and they're not going to build their own solutions. The best software engineers in the entire world want to work for the Ripples. They don't want to work for these legacy players. Because of this, the legacy players simply do not have the manpower to catch up when it comes to the blockchain solutions. That's why they need to leverage the Ripples of the world. Overall, though, this is just extremely exciting news to see Mastercard actually working with the likes of Ripple. I really do think we are going to see so many more announcements like this over the next couple months. I really do think this is just the start, and I think a lot of companies still need to be a little careful about the Ripple SEC case. They're probably just waiting for it to be completely over before they make any kind of massive announcements. The good news is things are just leaning further and further into Ripple's direction. It doesn't look like no matter what the SEC tries to throw out there at this point, they are going to have any chance. I really hope what ends up happening here is it comes back to bite them and they actually lose jurisdiction over some of Ripple's sales rather than gaining jurisdiction, which is what they want. Maybe even Judge Torres says, okay, well, since you appealed this, I'm also going to make it so institutional sales aren't securities. That would be pretty funny. Overall, though, this just seems like a massive nothing burger in the end. I think Judge Torres really uses this to cement her decision. And once that happens, I think that might just allow the floodgates to completely open up to allow all these partnerships that have been being built in the background for years now to finally flood onto the market. Today was the first one, but a lot of people who are partners with Ripple are going to see this announcement and say, okay, well, maybe it's safe for us now to bring our partnership forward. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed this update. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. It really does mean so much. And for now, Mickle out.